got the camera, how long you got this camera for? Have you got it till next Wednesday? Yeah? Because what I was going to do, what I couldn't get down here yesterday, was going to tell you that we come back in that great big monster truck, right? Every time at the same time, right, between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, right, and come down this street in that truck, right, and next Wednesday, and have you got a cell phone? Yeah. Well, next Wednesday, I'll tell you when we're coming. Right, because Roger's got a cell phone, and I'll use his cell phone to tell you, right, when we're coming. And you can line up that camera in front of what used to be Astro over there or something, right, and has it got sound on the camera? I guess so. And Roger's got the buttons on the horns that do the horse and the rooster. Right, so you could get an opening shot even, you know, this is what I've been thinking. And you know that great big green truck with the camel horns on the front and stuff? And the side I'll get out of, it's a roadside, right, which is just going to be great for you because you can set up over it by yourself. You know, just stand there, or you'll be okay with that. But I'm going to tell you, are you filming when you... That's okay, I don't mind, right? I can call you up and you're only going to have to be over there like 20 minutes, right? You know, it may be even, right? Because it don't take you long to go over there. And the truck's going to pull up there, right? If the parking spaces in front of the hydrant is full up, the truck will pull up right in front of Exile on the other side of the street. So if you know that, you know, because you'll be there, right? If you see the parking lot, you can't get a car in there, right? And then you just have to move down a little bit more, right? And then you'll get, and Roger's van won't pull up any further up the sidewalk than Exile, right? And you could, if you was on the outer limits of Exile's property with that, you catch it all. And that ain't a bad way to, you know, to start it.
So, when were you born?
April 28th, 1949.
And where?
St. Mary's Hospital, Portsmouth, England. Portsmouth.
And your roots in Brittany, what?
My roots come from my mother. Brittany, we have a whole Ponderosa kind of place.
Where is it in Brittany?
In the North Finisterre, Departement 29. Closest town, they call it, but it's really a village, is Plouescat.
How do you spell that?
Plouescat. Plouescat.
You grew up in Portsmouth, though.
By and at large.
And what was it like in Portsmouth?
It was another planet, David. An absolute another planet. But it was my first planet, so I didn't have any, you know, planets in terms of like Rio de Janeiro.
Where were you in Portsmouth? Where were you located?
In an ammunition dump called Fort Nelson. That actually is on a hilltop called Portsdown Hill. But I'm jumping the gun here. No pun intended with the ammunition dump. Because first off, I was located in number 29 Silverlock Street.
Say that again?
Number 29 Silverlock Street.
Silverlock?
Silverlock Street in Rodmore Village. It used to be a village, but they called it Rodmore Village.
How do you spell that?
Rudmoor, right?
Rudmore.
Rudmoor. Yeah, and Rudmoor was, they sent missionaries into Rudmoor. In the 18-somethings, they actually sent missionaries in there from the Winchester College Mission to try and, I suppose, get the inhabitants to go to church. Because I've got delved deep into the background of this, right, in brief times when I've been back in Portsmouth. I've been in their records offices. And they sent a missionary into where I grew up, right, in 1949, 1950, to Rudmoor, Portsmouth, but they sent a missionary there in something like 1890 something. And I do know his name, but I can't remember it right now.
Let's get on to another question. When did you start going into the basements? How old were you?
Oh, about 7 or 8.
And what part of Portsmouth was it?
Well, it was any part of Portsmouth that had bomb buildings on it. And everywhere in Portsmouth had bomb buildings on it.
So,
it was a Navy port, right?
So this was around 1955, 56? You were born in 49.
In 49, that would have been 56, 57, 58-ish.
And there were still lots of damaged buildings?
Loads of them. You can't imagine. There was no real revitalization of any bomb sites, and some of them were whole blocks, right? Until the 50s, and not even right away in the 50s. It took England until the to start building on any bomb sites.
Okay. We're jumping back and forth here on this list. So how old were you when you were with your dad in what he was doing? Do you remember?
Yeah, 2.
2? So this had been in 1951?
Yeah. 51, 52. It was before my brother was born, and he was born in 1952, in March.
This was in Normandy?
Yeah. Yeah.
All over Normandy?
Pardon?
All over Normandy, or just a...
No, we went to visit where he was, right? We went to, he was in the War Graves Commission, right?
Right.
And me and my mum and me went to, before Derek was born, we went to France. And I don't know how they got there, because we didn't have a car then or anything, but we got, right, into my dad's War Graves buddies. He was still in the army, right, but he was back stationed in England. And took my mother with him. Right? I was conceived, by the way, in the city of Rouen. I was born in England, but only just. By about a week. But it wouldn't have mattered, because I was...
Do you remember anything of the time?
I was premature anyway, so, you know. But I would have really loved to have been born in France, really.
Do you remember anything about being in Normandy with your dad?
The first gravesides, I remember it, and I was like maybe 2. They're my earliest memories, and they're the only dead bodies I ever saw, unless they was fresh ones. They're the only dead bodies I ever saw, and I was no more than 2, and I saw a whole. And afterwards my dad talked about it, and I knew what he was talking about, right? It was a whole American bomber crew, like from a Flying Fortress, B-17. And they was all buried in clay, like, they didn't land in clay, but and they all came out they dug them up, looking like totally preserved, you know, like totally fresh. Like the particular clay they was in, right? And my dad remarked on it afterwards, and I knew what he was talking about because I was there, that one. But I saw some other things. I saw a whole lorry truckload, right? We used to have these trucks called a Matador, right? It's a British Army truck called a Matador. Well, a Matador, right, was the kind of trucks my dad was driving. I don't know if it made in Vauxhall of England or something like that, maybe, right? Well, I did see a truck absolutely loaded up with dead bodies. Moulder and fester, all in khaki, you know, khaki this, khaki that, because what happened in battle situations, after the battles in France, was every parish, right, has a mairie, right? That's like a parish hall. When a farmer buried bodies, they buried them all, they might have fallen all over the fields, right? But they buried them in corners of fields, right? And that was all registered in the French mairies. And the farmer, right, and it would say, some of the details is better than others. And you could go into those mairies and you'll find out the details because they're all still there in their books. You found out there was 3 Germans, 4 Americans buried in a corner of that field, right? Depending on what beaches they come in from, right? You know, because Normandy, you know, the Americans landed on Omaha and can't forget the other one.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to right now.
All right. And anyways, and other fields in Normandy, right, they're going to have 17 Germans and 3 British and some Canadian troops buried in them. That was pretty, you know, but some at the parish, you know, they just said like 28 troops, 28 bodies, didn't say troops, 28 bodies buried there. And on top of that, there was flyers, you know, like bomber crews and fighter pilots, you know, they go, and because of the natural farmer thing, right, well, no farmer is going to bury a bunch of bodies all over his field where they are. You know, I mean, they took them to the corner of a field and they had the first war graves. And then the War Graves Commission had to come along and dig them all up and identify them all, get all their personal property out of their pockets, and so forth, and send it to next of kin. Like Germans, whatever. Germans got treated. My dad told me, they treated Germans equally, right? Rings, everything, you know, watches, everything the guys got on them, right? Except money. US dollars or anything valid, you know, like, things were incredibly tough. Nobody had any gasoline in Europe then. When I was a baby, and that was in 1949, they was making coats out of army blankets. Even then, they was making coats out of army blankets when my mother and father got together. But still then, in the 19, the Britain just this year, right, just finished paying its war debt to the USA. The war debt was paid off before this New Year, which was 2006, last year. The war debt that Britain owed the United States just got paid off last year.
So, where did your dad meet your mom? When?
Suppose it was sometime in 1948.
Where?
And it was definitely in Rouen, R-O-U-E-N. It's a fabulous medieval city where Joan of Arc got crucified. In Normandy. Ended up after the American captain's jeep working as a waitress in a cafe in Rouen.
What did your dad do during the war?
Joined the army.
Did he serve?
He didn't do any combat.
No?
By the time he got into Europe, combat was pretty much over. My dad was born in 1929. He was only gone like... In 1939 he was 10. 39, that was the start of the war. Right? So he was only 14 and 40. He joined that really early. 29, 39, yeah. Right, you can work out.
But if you met your mother in 1948, and he was born in 29...
Yeah. My mother was born in 26.
So how old would your father have been? He couldn't have been born in 1929. He wouldn't have been...
He was definitely born in 1929.
He was...
1949.
He met her when he was 19?
Yeah, guess so. He was 20 when I was born.
Okay. And
he never tired of telling me what it was like for him when I was 20. Yeah.
And when was he in the War Graves Commission? Right after the war or later on?
Yeah, as soon as he joined the army, he was right into it. Because it was extra money. Do you know how much they used to pay soldiers in the 1940s? 14 shillings a week. Not even £1 a week. 14 shillings a week. Actually, I think when he joined it was 7 shillings a week. Shillings. I think that's, but whatever, that was the money. But he got extra money for being on the War Graves Commission. That's why he went for it. And because he was young, like nobody old could do that job. You'd have to be young to dig dead bodies up with no heads and no legs and no arms and no middle bits or anything like that. You'd have to be young, right? You would, wouldn't you? You just have to be. We couldn't do that kind of job, alright. Just turn us bonkers.
And he stayed how long doing this in Normandy?
Well, long enough that my parents thought they made a mistake, but my mother didn't, because she got fed up looking at dead bodies. Right, that he could have gone back to France and made a lifetime career of graveyards. He could have, I don't know what the deal was, but he could have gone back there and maybe took over a whole cemetery. And we could have lived in the cemetery. But my mother seen enough of dead bodies already, right? We didn't go there. So something else happened to us.